about now? I told you audio mixing is a royal pain.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can imagine. Just the background music
Works.
works.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
No, wait. Oh man.
So there's multiple audio here. Yeah. And all the routing between us, so he can hear and he can see the stream and me. Yeah. Okay, great. I re-edited my mic and I forgot to set the track that it is supposed to output on. Whoops. Oh well. That happens live. Okay, so there's two Tauri blog posts, and this is the original one, December 9th, which I linked below, and then this is the most recent one. I'll go ahead and link that as well. The first step I did was, or the first couple steps I did was go into the next documentation site, and there's a prerequisites. I am working on Windows right now, and I had Tauri set up originally, so we've done Tauri on stream a bunch already, but specifically in the Android section, I did the download the Android Studio, and I set my Java home, and I double checked these as I was installing. So that's all I've done, and I've done very little mobile. I guess Jonas, you can, give yourself a quick introduction.
Okay,
here.
so yeah, well, to the ones that no, wait, because the audio was broken, right? Anyway,
Yeah.
To repeat what I said, and it's kind of weird doing introductions twice. Anyway, well, I'm part of the Tauri working group. Yeah, and I do work on a lot of things over at Tauri. All sorts of stuff. You can find me in the docs, Discord, wherever. But mostly what I'm doing right now is IPC stuff. So I'm working on the Tauri BindGen project, and yeah, I'm on the hopefully coming soon IPC router reworks and things like that. So yeah, um, I'm also developer relations for Crab Nebula, which uh, we haven't done a proper announcement blog post yet, but we are a company founded, sorry, to basically push Tauri beyond what it is right now, to provide services, to provide auditing, to provide consulting, and yeah, so I'm doing a lot of Tauri, a lot of Tauri these days, which is cool, exciting, very exciting. And this is what I said while the audio was broken as well. I haven't touched mobile in like a while, so this is yeah, we're in this together.
Yes, it's gonna be sort of a first. You maybe have experience with Tauri, and there are a couple setup steps, but I don't think having prior knowledge of Tauri is necessarily a prerequisite. But we're kind of both starting fresh on the mobile side of things. I've done effectively no Android, and I guess really no iOS either. So like I am real fresh on this. So what we're gonna try to accomplish today is get everything sort of like zero to set up in like into a Atari app. And maybe we'll do a little bit of stretch goal work here, but we'll see what we can get done in like a good hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. So I did the Rust Up ad. The Rust Up is a, I guess, Rust C plus the different target manager that is officially put out by the Rust Lang team, and it has support for different targets. So when you're working with multiple operating systems and you're creating binaries, you need to have support for compiling the Rust code into whatever specific target you're looking to meet. And since we are working with Android, we have some special ones here. So we have ARM. Android is it a? It's a fork of Linux, right?
Yeah,
Something like that.
like
That's Linux E.
yeah,
Um,
very different the fork nowadays.
yeah. Yeah, maybe it was originally a fork, but it's very different now, I feel like. But we need all those targets so Rust is able to compile into something that can run on Android. And I've went through and did the Android Studio install. Here, I can drop this link in here too. Is there anything? Should we try running the installer? Do you think we give that a shot?
Yeah. Let's. I mean, I guess honestly, it probably like tells you that it's already installed. But for for illustration purposes, I guess that's great.
Let's find out. There was a. They don't really have any pictures in here. That's sort of unfortunate. There was a handful of steps, and it did specifically ask about, at least as far as licenses and agreeing to licenses go, it did ask about this stuff. So I think I'm good with that. But I might not actually have it all. And I did open it on the side. It takes a hot minute to open up here.
Yeah, like I had, and maybe this is different on Windows. I had a whole bunch of issues. Not call don't call it issues. It was a bit confusing because like a lot of these options for like tools you need are like very hidden. So I guess we can just jump into the SDK manager real quick and just make sure that you've got it all.
There we go. It just said verifying installer. I think what's going to happen, at least as far as my experience with Windows and installers go, is that it'll be, it's not going to look exactly the same, but it's going to go into like a repair mode and say, do you want to change or modify the existing installed things?
Yeah, it might. That's true.
Spinning. This is why I did the install off screen, because doing the download and the install would have taken a while.
There it is. Nice.
Okay, so I don't want to uninstall right now because I'm scared that it's actually going to uninstall before we add anything else. I do have it on my D drive just because space issues. I think these, yeah. I mean, so this comes in and it says it's recommended when you hover over it. I wish I could make it a little bit bigger here, but as far as I understand, there's sort of like two pieces. There's Android Studio, which is sort of a like built-in IDE, and then there's the virtual device, which is like an emulated version of a phone, right?
Yeah. You want both, definitely, unless you have an Android device ready.
Yep, which I do, but that's, things are complicated enough for it. So we'll use the emulator for at least this stream. Yeah. I feel like there's more options.
What do you mean?
So when I hit install, I think it's actually gonna do an install.
Well, I mean, I guess that's fine. You don't want to destroy.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and just exit it. I'll go ahead and open up Android Studio here. I think that, so within Android Studio there was some options as well. So I wonder if some of these, like here it says you can use the SDK manager in Android Studio to install those. So there's the initial install of like Android Studio, and I think you can actually modify these after the fact. And that also is the same with if you are running Windows and you get these build tools for Visual Studio. The whole
Yeah.
program is sort of like a manager of all those SDK things.
And you definitely, especially for that Android thing, you really want to check that you have all the components, because it's alpha right now. The error handling is not great. So if like I had it once, like didn't correctly set up Android Studio and stuff, and like the error messages are not great. It's a bit like Rust linking errors. If you ever run into those where it's like pages of just like linking script errors, and you just like, ooh, what is going on? So I the thing is, so with the SDK manager, I think
Mm-hmm.
you actually need to like open a project to be able to get there,
Okay,
which is
so
kind of weird.
should we just do new project?
Yeah. I mean, you can like just have a bare bones project and delete it, but sort of the menu is hidden unless you're in a project.
No activity. We're not going to really use this. This is just going to get into the SDK
Yeah,
manager, right? Okay.
right. Because the Tauri CLI will create the Android project for you, so it's not like like you don't really interact with Android Studio at all, really.
Got it.
This is just sort of the initial setup.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, whatever. Just have it open up the project.
Interesting. So I haven't made a project yet, and I basically just went through the install and did like the standard stuff, which appeared to include all this. So the first time running the program and opening it and making a new project, it does things async and like
Yeah,
downloads async.
which I was downloading that. So I have a new MacBook, and I was sort of setting that up right before the stream now. And
Mm-hmm.
like the installer itself is like 1,000. No, what was it? 1,000
It was
megabytes.
about yeah, it was about a gigabyte for me. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's like 1.7 gigabytes, which already like you're like, Jesus, why it is like why are you so large? But it then like also just downloads a ton of things after the fact,
Yeah,
which
so it was like the initial installer, and then I think it downloaded stuff for these when it installed it, and now I'm getting more stuff. Okay. Um,
nice. So let me. I don't.
Come on,
So
Windows.
I think it's in tools,
That would make sense to me. SDK manager.
and then SDK manager. Yeah.
So we are looking for. I'll put this over here on the side so we can see it a little bit. Oh.
Interesting. I
Well,
mean
never
that setting just like it brought you into the settings window, which I think might be available. Like, oh well, whatever. We're there now.
Okay. So like, you potentially need to like click through to find all like to get to the appearance and behavior system settings Android SDK.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah,
So we
just
need.
make sure you have those ticked. For me, like some of them are like pre-installed, some of them are not.
Okay, so I clicked over to the SDK tools tab, and it looks like I've got platform tools, which is 34. There is an SDK platform 33. Do you know if that matters at all?
I think it doesn't.
Okay.
Let's try.
SDK build tools. I don't have this NDK. Okay, so this was the one that I was a little bit worried about. There's an NDK side by side. I don't have that installed.
Yeah, it's right there. Just click it. You don't need to. Yeah, it will mark those as like to be downloaded, and once you hit apply, it will download them.
Okay.
So we just make sure we click all the things we need and then hit apply.
Got it.
I
Don't
think
see the
you
other
want
build tools
the
and command
one.
line tools.
Yeah, I think it's right.
Oh.
Is it?
Yep. Android SDK command line tools.
Your
And then we
your
need.
screen share is like very deep fried for me. It's like
Oh, you're getting it's all
not,
artifacty. Can I
yeah.
do?
But that's all right. I can
Okay.
make do.
Okay. Um. All right. We need the
So
build. This. I mean, this doesn't help either. This is really small, and I didn't think about upping my zoom level for the whole Windows.
that's all
Um.
right. I think you were good. Maybe we can like check, go and tick the box at the bottom right of that window where it says show package details.
Hmm.
And yeah, see,
Ah. Okay.
so
I did. I
it
do have
has the
33
right
installed.
version.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
And then you
there?
have build
I
tools, right? Yeah.
Yep. And I did the command line tools, the latest,
Okay.
and then so you said I have the build tools. Oh, that is the build tools. Okay, great. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit OK then.
I think you want to hit apply instead. I'm not sure. Okay, yeah.
Really, it puts it in SDK root. Okay, whatever. I'll just move it later. I don't want to mess around with it. I tried. There's like, so when I did the install, I did the actual install and put, I believe, just Android Studio on my D drive because I have a little bit more space there. My main boot drive is a little bit smaller. But I feel like all these components default to like user folder, which is all on my C drive.
Yeah. Probably.
Between
It's like
Docker, WSL, and now this, and Windows install, it's basically like my whole boot drive. It's sort of wild how big those things get. Okay, well, this is doing its thing. I think we've gone through all the setup that we need to. I did set these environment variables. And these are, it's going to be different per operating system. Again, we're working on Windows. This PS stands for PowerShell. So you'll see all these commands specifically say PowerShell. Some of them, like rust up, it's going to depend on when you set up your terminal and your shell. If your setup and the path has access to rust up, that theoretically will run in whatever shell you have set up. But some of these commands, like this one, that's specifically a PowerShell command. So if this isn't working for you, you're going to want to open up a PowerShell terminal on the side. And this is setting it at the system level. So if you set it in just a separate PowerShell instance, it should carry through to whatever other shell you have set up. So I set the JDK environment variables and then the Android home and NDK home.
Yep.
Which
I think is like cross-platform requirement. Like the way you set them, of course, differs, but that's sort of you have to do that on all platforms.
Yep. The how you do it is going to be a little bit different, but every platform needs it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and hit finish and okay, I guess. And I think that's it that we need to do in Android Studio itself.
Yeah, okay. You can close it.
Background processes. It's downloading stuff, of course. Well, we'll just let that run a little bit while we're talking through the rest of this. Should we go to the most recent blog post then? Alpha 4 release and go through those steps?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess it's not that difficult. You just need the new CLI.
Does it?
Yeah.
I know y'all have been working on a Create Tauri app.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that works.
It,
I mean, you still need the latest CLI or not, maybe not. Maybe you can actually use so what depending on what front end sort of setup we're going with, yeah.
I think if we get into and see any front end
okay.
in Android, I would be happy. I mean, you're sort of are you a fan of Svelte? Can't remember what
Yeah.
your. I was
Yeah.
saying.
No,
I
Svelte
thought
is cool.
Svelte was your preferred.
Svelte is very nice. So yeah, you then want to let me quickly check.
Is it
I
working on
think we
npm?
did.
I've not
What do you mean?
kept apprised of. So we've got a Bash PowerShell, and I know the newer implementations you'd use the PowerShell setup. But does the npm one, is that still going to the same thing, or is that pointing to an older one?
I think it should.
Okay. Wii U.
You can.
Svelte. Nice. Okay, so should we do the PowerShell one?
You can. Yeah, I think you can just run whatever you prefer. All of them
Okay.
should point you to the same.
All of them work.
Yeah.
But for you
Armor.
PowerShell, you need to do
Armor.
perfect.
Right. Yeah. You have to just like run the help script and we'll like or sort of help flag, and we'll tell you what the options are.
Okay. So my sort of daily driver shell is new shell, which is bash-like but not perfectly. So I'm that this is probably going to be more of an eclectic thing, and you might not actually run into this. So I just went separately and opened up a PowerShell instance. What are you doing? Okay. And I think I'm just gonna put it in. I've got a folder where I put most of my like test projects and whatnot. Oh boy.
I think you just forgot the CD.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might have forgot the CD. You can see I don't use the PowerShell much because this looks much less pretty than this. Okay, so we'll go ahead and run this script that we grabbed. And did you say we need to do some flags or something? Help flags? Or is that after we run this?
Honestly, I don't know what the PowerShell command does, but just like try to pass it help flags. Why not? Do dash help and let's see what happens.
Like that?
I don't know. maybe well, you need 2 dashes to have it pass as sort of the as flags to the command. I don't know what IEX does.
Yeah, I'm definitely so a little bit of history of Create Tauri app. And the reason I was asking, originally we did it real bootstrap style, set it up with JavaScript and npm, and it was sort of a wrapper and bootstrapped other Create app things. And now we've had more time as a team to spend on it. What I was asking was I don't know if this is still that old bootstrap style, but I know that we've done Bash and PowerShell, which run a lot faster. So like we can run this, and it basically skips the whole like npm or whatever you're using install step, which makes it go a lot faster. So if we would just run this, my first Android app. Which language?
Yeah,
I
was going to say, I think that prompt just as is right now without passing. I think if I'm not mistaken by heart, I think it's -- mobile -- alpha.
Okay.
Because that right now will just put you into a regular Tauri app.
Okay. And when we're doing mobile, is it if we have an existing Tauri app, can we is there anything we need to do to get it into like mobile mode? Like what is that flag doing?
We can do that sort of setup as well.
Okay.
Walk through that. Then you can just go on and generate the app now. It's a
Okay.
bit
And
it's a bit involved. You have to change a few like Rust sort of cargo settings and things.
got
Um,
it. Okay.
but yeah, let's do
And
that. So that's a
Amir is saying that it will ask you if
oh,
we want mobile, and I was saying
nice.
I thought you all were working on it, and we're pushing out something for this release. So I wasn't sure if it had landed yet. As far as this front end goes, this is literally like you can write your front end in Rust. So there's a couple. I think there's like 3 of them now that we support for the Rust side of things. But
Yeah.
TypeScript, JavaScript should have Svelte, which is what we're gonna roll with for the moment. I think I've got PNMP installed. I tend to use npm, and all the clients that I work with seem to use Yarn. Just haven't got off of Yarn version 1 yet. But I know there's definitely. I would say if the team has an unofficial preference, PNMP plus Svelte seems to be the one that people seem to pick.
Yeah, like personally, that's what I choose. Um, yeah.
I definitely have more of a React background, so I don't think I'm gonna bother
Oh,
with
like me
TypeScript.
too. Me too,
Yeah,
but it's like Rust. You learn different things and you don't want to go back,
yeah. I'm just gonna go with JavaScript for right now because I don't think TypeScript's gonna be valuable for. This is sort of like prototype level. I don't really feel like fighting
Yeah.
TypeScript.
No, no,
um,
that's right.
okay, so we should have. I'm gonna switch back over to the nicer looking terminal, and we have a my first Android app, and I'm gonna open up VS Code. And is this done doing its thing? Yes, I'm gonna close this. Okay, all right. No TypeScript.
It's really like it's got to take ages to start me up again. Please don't exit.
Yeah, right. Are you really sure? Do you want to wait another 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, no TypeScript. I'm not hitting on TypeScript. I just want to make that clear. There are times and spaces where TypeScript is really nice. If you're looking at creating a project, especially working with a big team, TypeScript is nice because it helps give boundaries and guardrails. Um, the value is, in my opinion, the long-term maintainability and helping people get into the project because you get the one of the side effects of TypeScript is the like autocomplete if you're using VS Code, and I think like Vim and whatnot have autocomplete too. Yeah, writing, yeah. I mean, just like Jonas was saying, you get into Rust or something like that, and it feels weird going back. But I've been doing JavaScript for quite a bit of time now, and I definitely prototype a lot faster in JavaScript. But pretty much all my clients and then all the code bases I work on are using TypeScript at this point. So I get it.
I
I get the
mean,
opinions.
especially if you're working like with, and that's sort of where my like experience has really been that TypeScript is like super helpful. Is when you're dealing with like all the IPC stuff that you usually do in apps, right? Where as they are right now, they are untyped, which gives you sort of like even in TypeScript like a taste of the JavaScript experience. But like it's really like you really want types there to know sort of what your IPC boundary is doing and like what stuff your
Mm-hmm.
backend returns and stuff like that. So like types are great. Types are really good. But
Hey, Fabian. Yeah, the thing that gets me with TypeScript is you have somebody on the project that's not familiar, especially with some of those more advanced types. As soon as they like throw an any in there, all your types are blitzed.
oh yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
so like
And
if I want to do types, like Rust is my choice because it's um what's the word I'm looking for? Primary. Like it's types are you have to do your types.
yeah.
So
And like one thing actually is sort of on the topic of types, like I find it fascinating people like talking about how Rust's type system is so complicated and so complex, and it's hard to grok. But have you like now that sort of like TypeScript like V5 has been released, I was like playing around with it a bit. Like, man, like TypeScript is complicated. You know, it's very like you can opt out of it, sure, and you can like have plain JavaScript, but like the type system itself, like that is super complicated. And like it does things that like Rust, as far as I know, cannot do. Like the type system in TypeScript is complete, right? You can like I don't know if you've seen that on Twitter. Like you can write databases in types, right? Um, so like
Yeah.
yeah.
It's the
Or
I think
actually, one
part
thing that
of
was fun. Sorry.
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
But one thing that was fun was that I saw, and I cannot find it anymore. But there was this project where someone wrote a JSON parser in types, so you could give it a string, and the TypeScript types would be a parsed version of that JSON string, right? So
Oof.
that was kind of neat. But yeah,
I think the thing that got me too is um like there's two ways you sort of interface with TypeScript. If you're working in like a web app or in a project downstream, having all the types available to you is really nice. It's a whole different thing if you're the one publishing a package and you need to get the types right for everybody downstream. That part's
yeah,
not easy. Um, and honestly, the I feel like the end of TypeScript 3 into TypeScript 4 is when it really started getting good, because in Rust, types are first class citizen. That's what I was trying to think of before. Types started with the language. With TypeScript, you're building the types on top of an existing language. It's like a superset. So like TypeScript 1 and 2 and 3 didn't necessarily have support for everything. So there was like there's a library that I use that works with generators, and the generator support still isn't very great in TypeScript. And it'll literally just like, if you yield to a function, it blitzes the types. It just returns an any. So,
yeah.
which is fine, but there's no way to actually make it understand what you're trying to do there, which is frustrating. So, time and place. Anyways, okay, so Amir was saying there's an envar flag you can set to pass the alpha flag to the PowerShell script. Okay, got it. That's what we meant by flags. I suppose I can run it again. It didn't take too long. Let me do. I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna close this. We'll run it again and we'll pass that flag just so we don't have to go through setting everything up. All my Starship prompts are timing out here. RF, my first Android app. Okay. So that would be, I believe you would write that at the beginning of the command. So that would be something like env cta args equals dash dash alpha. One thing with PowerShell which is nice is it does like syntax highlighting of your commands. So it's like these sort of things where it's easy to miss a double quote or whatever. It kind of fixes it for you.
Yeah.
I think that's right, but my PowerShell is not super advanced.
I think yeah. No,
Okay.
that
Hmm?
no. What?
Semicolon instead of a space.
Ah. I mean, man, like I'm absolutely no help here.
Eh? You need a semicolon between these commands. PowerShell. Yeah, PowerShell is rough. I mean, it's literally a whole nother language at this point. No. Okay. Semicolon instead of a space. Y'all are gonna have to Yeah, okay. TM. Semicolon. Ha, I'm doing a colon. Words are hard. So a semicolon, I think it's pretty common across shells. Basically does a whole separate shell command. So you're setting the environment variable in the shell session with ctar equals alpha. Somebody wrote a package manager for Windows in it. Who would be who would think to do that? My first Android app. And JavaScript. Would you like to set up the project for mobile? So this is the flag that we added. This wasn't in there before. Oh yeah, scoop. Really? What's chocolatey in? So there.
Probably C#, honestly.
Yeah, you think so? I honestly haven't looked into it. I actually use Scoop though. I prefer Scoop. I can see it. I could see it. Okay, so we got our project. So let's go back into this and open up this.
Yeah, maybe for a second bring up the output of create Tauri app again, because there was. I want to highlight the help. So because you have to run 2 commands basically. Since like mobile is like a lot and it has to generate the project files, right? It's sort of currently split into a couple commands. So what you want to do is you want to run Tauri Android init, which will sort of scaffold out the project, like the Android project itself. And then you can either run like a normal Tauri dev, which will just open in your like Windows host, or you run Tauri Android dev, which will run inside of an emulator, hopefully.
Got it.
Fingers crossed.
If we set that up. Yeah, if we set that up correctly. Okay. So we need to do pnmp install. I'm gonna do a -v just to make sure.
What happened? Oh, nice. Do you have core pack?
Let's see what version of Node I've got.
Ooh, that's rough.
Maybe we can upgrade it. Volta. So I've been using Volta to manage my my version of Node.
Yeah.
So I can do this, and it'll give me Node 18. And
what I use for that is FNM, which is written in Rust, by the way. That's honestly there are a whole bunch of like. Interesting. Yeah, because like there are so many like version managers for Node out there now, and I was like, oh, written in Rust, cool, let's go.
What I like about oh my goodness, really, what I like about Volta is that it handles global installs separately from the version of Node or Node plus whatever package manager you're using. And it works on Linux, WSL, Windows Native, and Mac. So I can use the same thing everywhere. And when you do Volta pin, pretty much all the other managers do this as well, but it puts an entry in the package JSON for this one, and it'll just automatically run whatever version you have set pinned there.
Yeah, that's cool. Very cool.
But
maybe while that is sort of downloading.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. No, go. I was
just say the problem is that PNMP plus core pack support has been weird because everybody's sort of trying to figure out how to like make all these things work with each other.
Yeah.
Because like every team is sort of like, how can I make it work with the ecosystem? But then now you've got 4 different ways to do the thing, which is
true. Yeah.
So
I mean, I was going to suggest. Oh.
I would say part of what's making things run slow is the Rust analyzer is running in VS Code. So
Oh yeah, the stream lag is not helping.
oh yeah.
But I was just gonna suggest, like, while we're waiting for Node, we can have a look. Let's open the project and have a look, because it looks different now. So the like a mobile capable app, the source Tauri folder, it looks different than what you might be used to previously. So go into, oh yeah, well, so yeah, first of all, the cargo toml now has that lib entry in it.
Okay.
Which that is sort of a requirement for the Android and iOS apps. So the way this works is that basically your Rust code gets compiled into like a shared library, and that gets hooked into the Android app.
Okay.
That's like the way you make that work. So that is required. The second one, and that's sort of where it gets tricky, is if you go into the source folder. And
Make sure I keep running stuff on the side. In the main source
yeah.
folder.
No, the Rust one.
Oh, okay.
Like the front end, that doesn't change.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so it now has like two entries, right? Two entries into the crate. One being the main.rs file, which sort of is the one that you are used to. What is it? Wait. Yeah, right. And the lib one, which is now your sort of main entry point into the app, because that's how Rust crates work, right? Once you you can, it's kind of weird, kind of sort of a niche thing to do with Rust crates, but you can have a library and a binary, or multiple binaries or multiple libraries in the same crate, right? And we make use of that. So basically, you have you have a binary and a library inside of your crate now. And the library has the lib.rs entry point, and the binary has the main.rs entry point.
Got it.
And
okay.
we basically just reuse the library from the binary, if that makes sense, right? So
okay.
basically what the binary does, it is like calling this run function from the library. So you don't have to write the code twice.
Got it. Okay. So this run is this.
Yeah.
And this is coming from the lib. Got it. Okay. And just as a side note, if anybody is interested in looking how we have things set up, most of that setup happens in the cargo.toml. There's a lib entry and there's a bin entry. And the cargo docs are pretty good. If you check through there and look at the bin and lib entries, if you're interested in doing like a cargo workspace or multiple bins within a Rust project, that would sort of be your entry point into looking into that more. Okay, so I think I've got pnmp installed, so we can do pnmp install. Is that text big enough, or should I make it bigger? Oof.
Do not resize the window.
I have a bad habit of doing that, like running a command and resizing it and everything just goes. Okay, so
nice.
we did pnmp install, and we need to do the pnmp Tauri init, or Tauri Android init.
And like for iOS, that will be Tauri iOS init. Same commands, sort of same structure, just
got it.
Different subcommand basically.
Have you installed the NDK? The NDK home environment variable is set but doesn't point to an existing directory. Okay, that's what I was wondering about, was if the environment variables ended up coming out correctly. Let's go back here. So this environment variable here doesn't seem to be correct, and it is going to come local app data
the version might be different, like that last part of the path.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that might be part of it. Amara is saying that you might need to restart Windows. Yeah, I'll just do it for the current session. It's so this is specifically just so when we run this command, we're setting it at the system level. So we're adjusting the OS has a path environment variable at the system level. So when you're running this command, you're actually adjusting the system environment variables. When you set up a shell, the shell typically inherits from the system, and you can adjust the environment variables for that specific shell. So I think, and I believe Amar is confirming, if we adjust the system one, sometimes we end up having to restart to get Windows to actually pick that up. I thought I restarted. Yeah. I thought I restarted, but maybe not. But for this specific case, we just want it to work. So like, shrug. I know how to set an environment variable in a session. We will just figure it out. This syntax here is new shell syntax. So
yeah, actually, before you do this, maybe check if that path even exists.
Yep. So I think it's in. I've got it over on the side here. I'm gonna click through a couple of folders before I bring it over so I don't dox myself. This local app data, is that the app data folder /local?
It might. I think we need Amar help here again. Yeah.
And this is, I think specifically this is like an environment variable stuff. So like in Linux, Mac, you can do the tilde, and that'll go to your home directory. Every operating system has sort of like low-level rewrite type of stuff. Like I can do %user home % on Windows, and it'll take me to the home directory. So we're expecting it to be in the local app data folder, which is where I'm at. There should be an Android SDK, NDK, and yeah, so the number is slightly different, which is annoying. But it looks like I just need the folder here.
Yeah.
And I think I can do it like this. I'm actually going to just... I don't know what it's going to do with these rewrites, so I'm going to... app data. I'm going to replace the beginning of the string and do the local app data. And so effectively what I've done is just change the NDK version.
Yep.
Yeah, so the guide is a bit outdated. Yeah. Also, a little oddity with new shell is some of these path things are expected to be written in POSIX path style,
which are the only correct path delimiters.
I honestly agree. I do, especially in Node 2. I just do everything in POSIX, and then right at the end, when I'm actually doing a save or whatever, if I have to, I convert like at time of doing the file system operation. It's just so much easier to make it cross-platform. Okay, I'm not 100% certain if that'll work, but I think we can run the command again, and it'll tell us.
No.
Okay. Let's try doing the full. Some of that rewrite stuff happening right there might just be a PowerShell thing. And also, we might just say screw it and not work in new shell, because these paths are just a royal pain.
I think honestly this should, and I don't want to jinx it, but that should be the last time we have to actually touch any like real shell things. So.
And honestly, like, I'm not mad that we're running into this. because this is one of those things that, like, if you start getting into it and get tripped up by it,
That's weird.
do we need to? We don't have to restart because the NDK thing was installed, right? Because I didn't actually restart after NDK was done because we installed NDK on the stream. I hope not. 'Cause that would
Yeah,
suck.
I mean, I don't think so because like the folder exists, right? Like it's there.
Yep. Let's just do it in PowerShell. Just to make certain here. I'm gonna grab DK home is path. So I'm gonna grab this. So this will only set it in this shell session.
Yeah.
So if it works here, then we'll just end up running out of PowerShell, which isn't the end of the world. Oh no, not env. We need to do the path now. Did not copy. Oh, well. The copy paste with Windows Terminal, at least how I have it set it up. Where's the X? Copy and paste out of the terminal is Control Shift C and Control Shift V. So sometimes I accidentally press that same thing when I'm in the browser and it flips out. Okay, so path. And the path is going to be this instead of the other one that we have set. Okay, so PNMP, Tauri, Android, Net.
That's even less promising. What is that?
Because I don't really have PowerShell configured. Is it okay? So no importer manifest found. Oh! My first this. I was in the wrong folder. I hadn't actually moved folders yet.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, still to initialize Android support won't be usable until you fix the issue and rerun Tauri, Android, and it. Have you installed the NDK? The NDK home environment variable is set, but doesn't point to an existing directory.
Maybe you can like echo out the environment variable, or try to do like, I don't know what the correct folder would be, but is it like open or something?
Is that not what it is on PowerShell? Echo, do you have to do?
I don't know.
Oh, there we go. I wonder if it's not doing that like rewrite thing. Here, let's grab this whole thing and we'll do we'll do that whole path.
Nice.
There we go. Okay.
That looks better.
Annoying that I gotta run it through here, but we made it work. Path stuff is not fun to deal with. Okay, so it installed some stuff. It looks like it's doing things with Rust up, so that's output that I would expect to see with Rust up, which we did run. In the above,
I think it would, like, if you haven't installed the tool chains and stuff, as you pointed out like earlier, it would do that for you at this point.
Okay.
Just to make sure like you have everything set. And I have no idea what it's doing, that it's not.
Yeah, so it doesn't seem to be exiting. I'll just hit Control C, I guess.
Yeah, maybe check the, like, does the folder sort of, does our project now contain? Yeah, Gen, right.
Okay.
I mean, I guess you should be good.
There's a bug in NAPRS. Oof, lovely. Okay.
Great.
Just Control C.
Yeah.
Lovely.
That's cool.
Okay. Yeah, so I think we're ready to run PNMP Tauri Android Dev.
Yeah.
Let's give that a shot and
see what
if
happens.
the simulator works. Yeah. No available Android
it's not
emulator
too
detected.
fancy.
So this is the Android part of the output. This is Vite, which is the builder that's running with Svelte. And then this is the Rust running. And basically compiling the main.rs. And it sounds like the lib.rs too, basically. I guess because they're like tied together. Main.rs.
In your case, it's compiling the lib.rs.
Got it. Do we need to open the Android emulators separately?
So I think what we also might need to do is we can check with Android Studio to make sure that like you have an Android emulator actually installed, because
Okay.
I don't know if I think I remember when I first tried it, I didn't have one installed either. Sort of weird, but.
And I'm pretty certain I checked the box. I wonder if it's one of those things where like we didn't open it in this, so it didn't download the extra random stuff that it needs to.
Yeah, I mean honestly, oh well, iOS is not much better, but like Android is all sorts of weird. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't be too surprised.
We probably should have started with iOS first, but my Mac setup is a little bit more. It would take a little bit more effort to get that happening.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll do it at some point, but. Now I'm doing both a Rust compile and opening Android Studio, so.
Your computer's struggling.
Yes, it is. I'm definitely hoping to build a new PC here in the near term, but all the new stuff just is still like coming out, and I think the last things that I was looking at are coming out in April. So I'm hoping to build a new computer sometime in the next couple months. That'll make the streaming a lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, like I got this. Like this is the new MacBook Pro with the M2 chip, and like it's been great. Very nice. Very fun.
And they've done a bunch of work with an OBS to make the Apple Silicon like work natively, as opposed to Rosetta, and work a lot better. You need to create an Android emulator first, or connect your phone using ADB and Story CLI will detect it, either if they. So how do we create an Android emulator first? That's the thing that I don't know about. I'm assuming
Yeah, so I think you go back to Tools, and it should be Device Manager.
Device Manager. Oh, interesting. Did it just like find it? It says, trust an open project, my first Android app. So it seems to have picked up this Android app that we just created. Sure, we'll trust it. Where would you like to open this window is fine. See the no device button?
No device.
No.
I don't see. Oh, top right. And the toolbar. Or maybe like more to the middle. It's like a drop down. Left.
Oh, no devices. Make project, add configuration. Attach debugger.
Daniel's super excited about PNPM.
No.
Yeah, go click on Device Manager. I think Device Manager should be the right thing. You just had it.
Got
it. Yeah.
Create device. All right. What should we roll with today? Interesting. Has anybody tried
the
Wear OS or any of those yet?
I haven't. But might be cool. I think like that's the cool part about Android is that I think like don't quote me on it, but I think Wear OS has a web view, while
Really?
on
Okay.
the iOS side, like on the Apple side, WatchOS definitely doesn't, which is a
Oh,
shame.
this
I
this
was
makes me wanna.
playing around with yeah, I was playing around with the tvOS, sort of the Apple's TV operating system part.
hmm
Um, and sadly, like it doesn't also like it doesn't have a web view,
Oh, that's annoying. I might have to
which
play
would have
around
been like
with.
that would have been so cool, but yeah.
I've got a vehicle that does Android Auto. It would be kind of fun to just give
Ooh,
that a shot. um,
yeah. I mean, how do you get it on the car though?
so it starts up when you plug in your phone. So I think you would install it on your phone, and when you plug it
Hmm.
in, it's just an app that's enabled to run in Android Auto mode. So like I've got
Oh, that
Spotify on
might
my phone, and I plug it in, and it just Spotify shows up as one of the options in the Android Auto menu.
right. That might be like a very cool like project, honestly.
I think speaking of Daniel being happy, I think Daniel would love that social media post. Um, all right, I'm gonna do Pixel 6 Pro because actually that's what I have, and it's a bigger screen. So we'll just do this. Select a system image. I think everything is working off
uh,
of 33
yeah,
tiramisu.
I think so.
How do I? Is x86? Oh, got it. Okay.
I think you have to click the download thing.
I think so. Yep, it looks like it. Another download that they didn't tell us about.
Yeah. No, no, no. This app is full of like, if mobile apps are full of hidden payments that they don't tell you about, this is full of hidden downloads that they don't tell you about.
Yeah, this is definitely a PSA for anybody um, driving up into the woods and wanting to try this for the first time, or on a train or something like that. This is not going to be a fun time. Um,
Or in Germany and in general, you know, just being
yeah,
in Germany. Yeah.
just in Germany. Is is there? I feel like your internet infrastructure tends to be better in Europe. Is it
Not in Germany. No.
no? Okay.
No. No. I mean, it's getting there. Like, they are now finally rolling out like fiber optics in like new developments and things. Like, slowly starting to add, like, to because you got to dig up roads, right? So they're slowly getting to that. But
Mm-hmm.
like compared to the rest of Europe, it's like it's decades behind now, which is
Okay.
sad. So like
Yeah.
if you're in Italy, for example, right? Italy, like for all the flaws it has as a country, mobile internet is great, which in Germany
Ah,
it's not.
interesting.
Yeah,
I think
actually,
that's sort of mobile internet sort of becoming the thing in the US as well because it's less an issue of like digging stuff up and it's more of just how like
yeah,
the US is huge. So being able to do run fiber to everything, like it's fine for cities and you run into the
yeah,
issue with having to dig stuff up. But the infrastructure in the US is much younger. So it's a little bit easier to work in the cities. Um,
yeah. That's
but
sort of the interesting thing about Italy, right? With and why in more like in Germany, for example, the like mobile internet is so bad, is because back like Italy as a country started like rolling out internet relatively late compared to other
mm,
countries. So what they did, like while Germany was like stuck in like DSL and like doing very early like internet over phone and then going with all the sort of improvements that happen upon that. What Italy just did is they just went like, no, we're not going to do fiber optics to anyone. We're just going to invest in like towers, right? We're just going to have cell towers all over the place, and we're going to
huh.
have those be fast. Um, and so yeah, that's yeah.
It's like the space race type thing where if you want to fly to Pluto, you can either send a spaceship out now and it'll take 9 years, or you can wait 3 years, and then when you send it out, the technology will have been better in 3 years. That it'll only take 3 years
Right.
to get there. So total time still is going to be less than if you sent it out now.
Yeah, no, that absolutely, and it's I feel like it's a fascinating story, just like seeing that because like you would expect, and I guess like we all like as tech people, we sort of think about it that way. It's like if you are jumping on sort of the latest trends and the innovations as they happen,
Mm-hmm.
you are better off. But that sort of is a point against that, right? That is sort of proving that sometimes it's better to wait a couple generations and
Yeah.
see what happens, which is interesting.
Okay, so I think we've got things starting. I finished up the device here. I reran the command. It's doing stuff. I do
Yeah, for a
have
second it was starting them. Oh, yeah, there it is.
the emulator on this side. I have a widescreen, so the
Ah, I
what you
see.
see here, the terminal is actually like pretty much right in the center of my screen.
Right.
Um,
There we go.
there we go. Okay, so all of this was just like polling, checking to see that the emulator has actually started up.
Yep.
Because these emulators aren't the speediest. Did it have to do it? Yeah, I guess it was all cached. Wait, no, that was from before. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, that's sort of interesting. A change that we did is that I think now it should basically keep the emulator around, just because like it's so like the emulator is so slow to start up because like it's literally an operating system, right? It's like a virtual machine booting up. Um, that you don't really want to have it restart every time you rerun your app. So basically, what we do now is like the correct thing, where we keep the emulator around, and you just like the Tauri will reconnect to it. Um,
Okay. Okay. That's nice. I feel like that rolls into like we've mulled about like how can we best do testing that's automated in CI, and like that problem is really difficult because you have to both run in the specific operating system, or in this case like with an emulator or whatever, but also you need to do it in something that supports GUI. So like you can't
yeah,
just do like not all terminals or CIs will have anything that actually supports. So like even if you could start it up and get past that, then there's the like you're now communicating with an app to do tests because you don't have this
yep,
like with the way Jest runs, it's basically running Node, and within Node, it's running your like web app, and that's how it tests headless. And something like Puppeteer or Cypress or what's the other one? Another one with a
playwright.
P. Playwright. Yep. Um, those are actually starting up a browser window,
Yep.
and then it communicates over sockets. I think they all tend to work a
Eh,
little bit differently. Playwright
yeah,
does.
it's the Chrome DevTools protocol, which is WebSockets under the
Okay.
hood.
And that's basically just like the processes communicating with and running all the tests in the browser. So then that also brings extra complications because you're now having to make sure that your code runs in the browser context. This is
Yeah,
easy.
yeah. I mean, like one thing that I was telling yesterday a bunch of like people is that over the weekend I tried to like I was playing with my sort of operating system hobby project a bit where I started that like Christmas where I was like, why not try to build a kernel in Rust? Hasn't been going
Mm-hmm.
great. Wasn't great. Didn't get very far. And now, like over the weekend, I tried again. I got much further, but still, like I'm just barely booting into the kernel. Like it's not great. But ooh,
Yeah,
what
same
happened?
issue.
Okay, yeah. Well, but with that operating system thing, like you gotta set up QEMU like as a virtual machine thing, or like as an emulator, and that is like incredibly complicated now because like you will also not only have to sort of get the communication right and boot your thing into it right, but you also have to make sure it's the same, like it's the correct arch, like the emulated CPU supports the right features, and like it's so complicated. It's incredible.
Yeah. There's actually a project that I've been following that is sort of in that same vein, that if we need another distraction I'll open up. But right now, so this is the same issue. I think
Yeah.
um I mean, obviously this is the guides are literally say next to them, so they're going to get better.
Yeah.
um
Not
but
only the
also like
software is
some of
alpha.
this, yeah, and mobile is alpha. But like some of
Yeah.
this is like very much dependent on how you like. Here, I was just straight up not paying attention, copy pasted and ran it. It literally says path to Android Studio. When we first started, I said I put this on the D drive. So like this one's a theoretically obvious fix because it's just program slash Android slash. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, yeah. So the let's see if I can spell it right. Array. Yeah, this I've been following along with what they've been doing. Chris Nova, who does a bunch of streaming on Twitch, is the I don't know, lead dev. They work with they run Hackaderm as well, but this is a Rust based kind of a rethought about way of doing containers essentially to run in like the Kubernetes context. And it's part of it is like it's interesting because Rust, but also when you run your processes, it's doing you can actually run it as like PID equals 1 on the system. So like they're
Right.
doing like Linuxy kernel type stuff. And then on top of that, they have this thing called array script, which uses Dino and creates bindings in, I guess, TypeScript. So you can, rather than writing YAML and telling Kubernetes telling Kubernetes like how you want your system, like what state you want your system to be in, you instead control it with TypeScript, which is pretty wild.
That's pretty cool. I was looking at your console output because like it's telling you what is it, set to an invalid directory, which
Yep.
that's interesting.
Please set the
And
Java
it's not
home
even
variable in your to match location. I thought I got that right. Maybe I did not. I just
one thought that I had was that maybe the command does like cannot deal with, because I guess it does a whole bunch of sim linking things that it
like
cannot link
across drives.
across drives. But I don't know. that would be the least good outcome of this, I feel like.
That would be, but I also just noticed I had a typo. So let's hope that that's the actual issue. It was
Yeah.
programs instead of program.
Okay, nice.
That looks.
It's
I think all the
yeah,
errors were at the end.
right. It's got to start up everything first, do the compilation things.
And it does do some. So like Rust does the built-in, like compile caching. The things that you are changing though in your code and in some of the like startups pieces of Tauri, once you compile once, for the most part, it's going to be like your code and maybe a couple of the Tauri pieces that ended up recompiling. And this is definitely slow because streaming and emulator. And also like old-ish. I guess my computer's not that old. It's definitely not
Honestly,
and it's
like
a laptop.
yeah, during the stream I did last week where I set up UTM virtual machines, I had Mac OS and Windows running, and like OBS has this like nice helpful thing at the bottom where it like tells you your processor sort of utilization, right? Um, and that was still even during like while both operating systems were installing, it was like at 6%, which
Oh my gosh.
incredible, right?
The Apple Silicon is just bonkers.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, like the M2 Mac, like that's just too much processing power. Like that's just too much. No one needs that much, like speed or whatever it is. Java
Right.
Home still.
Still giving us. Okay. Is set an invalid directory. D programs Android Studio JRE. I think
It should be alright, right?
yeah, I think it. No, let me just try copying and pasting it just to be certain. Java home. Yeah, I get that all spelled right. Programs Android Studio JRE. Oh, and we need to point to JRE, right? Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think so.
JRE. Okay.
Maybe also make sure you have the Android Home variable set correctly too.
Does that work now? Yeah. Okay. So JBR instead of JRE. Okay. JBR. Do you know what the difference between those are, Amar? There is, I mean, so it is definitely like a separate folder in here, but I have no idea what the difference is between them.
Yeah, have to defer to Amr. No idea. It's honestly like this is two levels of detached for me. It's Windows and it's also Java, which last time I touched Java in like a meaningful way where I did stuff like productive stuff with it was like 5 years ago. You know?
I think I've only like interacted with Java like running Java things.
Yeah.
So basically just like installing the runtime and that was about it. Honestly, Java is part of the reason I haven't bothered trying mobile dev prior to this, because I'm just like, I just don't feel like opening up that rabbit hole at the moment.
I mean, I've heard good things about Kotlin, but it's still like Java under the hood, right? So
Okay.
that looks promising though. That looks good.
This does.
Nope.
Ooh.
I jinxed it. Shit.
Unexpected argument Android. Subcommand Android exists. Remove the dash dash. So doing some like. This bug is still in the fix too. Is this something with that? Look for build task.kt.
I think it should be in the gen. Yeah. Build, maybe build source. Yeah.
Build source. Build Gradle. Build task. Here it is.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Oh yeah. Then it's yeah, line 30.
So just take out that dash.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Even though, wait. Maybe you need to remove the second Android. So basically, it was running with dash Android, and now, oh no, maybe not. No, wait. Run Tauri Android Studio script. I think that, yeah, that should be all right.
Keep it. Okay.
Cool. No, you're running the init script.
Oh, am I? Am I
Yeah.
really? Yep. Okay. I saved myself
wait.
typing from.
No. Wait a second. You stop that. You need to redo the change you just did because it reset.
Oh, did I goof up the init?
Yeah, but the init regenerated the file. You just need to remove the dash again. Yep, like that. Now.
Okay. So I'm not getting like the syntax highlighting in VS Code because this isn't. I mean, I guess it should be in a Git repo. I might just need to like reopen VS Code again. But as far as stuff that's getting ignored, we've got a separate.
The project shouldn't. Yeah,
okay,
this
so
project should not.
Should we be committing gen, or is gen?
I know that changed a couple times. What sort of the recommended thing is, like originally it was not like don't commit it because you can just regenerate it on demand. But I think we are now generating like a git ignore in the gen folder to ignore only the parts that we don't want.
Got it. Okay. Don't jinx it, Emmer.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say anything this time. I'm gonna be quiet.
And this is why my goal for today was get into a Tauri app. It's one of those like when you're working on it, you get all these like little steps set up, and then what you're iterating on is the last like 8th or 10th of what you've been doing, and that first like 9/10 of the setup is the parts that have had less attention, especially in alpha releases.
Yeah, and like especially with the setup, this mobile setup that we're dealing with, all this like prerequisites and the setup and sort of connecting to the emulator and stuff, like that is the really complex part, right? That is the part that can fail for any reason at any time because the Android Studio feels like it or something. So
doing the good work. Definitely appreciate what you do, Emmer. Still executing.
I mean, maybe we can have Amr live patch.
We'll have to. No pressure, but I would be happy to have you on stream at some point. I think too with some of this stuff, it would be fun to do like Spaces in Discord supports screen sharing now.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, we could do a YouTube stream too. Like one of us could run the stream. But I think it would be kind of fun to have a few voices, a few of the group.
That would be cool too. Yeah. I think what Amr says is that this idling, like it basically stalled right now.
Okay.
which yeah, is there a fix for it? Is there something we can do?
So it's in the Rust build.
Oh, but maybe more interesting, Amr, is there what's the
What's
reason
happening?
for this?
Yeah. These hangs are the worst too, because it's like, what do you have to go off of? There's like nothing here to go off
Yeah,
of, you know.
nothing. Yeah.
um, it is a bug in nappy RS for the thread function is not dropped or something.
Nice. Yeah.
That's lovely.
Weird. Seems like I don't want to be mean. Seems like someone was too excited when upgrading NIPIRS. No? Seems
So it's
like we might need
doing.
to roll
Okay.
back some updates.
Oh, and it's actually like depending on what we started with.
Yep.
PNMP run. Okay, so it's actually like tying it specifically into it. Interesting.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the one of the reasons that we originally said that you just generate that folder on demand,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
But honestly, if you're that's sort of my take on it is that in a project, the first person to start the project chooses the JavaScript package manager, right? And
Yeah.
everybody else just has to deal with it.
Yep.
So
And
yeah,
if it needs to change, that needs to be like a thing that everybody changes. You can't post the fix because yeah, just email it to me. That works too.
seems like it's removing stuff with dashes in it or something.
Yeah, let's live fix. So as far as how this is running, it's basically what this gen is that we are, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm surmising here. um I am happy to muck around in that npm modules folder. uh so what it's doing, it looks like, is that we are generating an Android project, which is basically just like the bootstrap thing to kickstart to do the web view. And at least in dev mode, we're basically pointing to the dev server that is configured in your Tauri conf.js or .json. Does that sound correct?
Yeah, roughly. I think what it does is that it's so the generated yeah, I just saw that as well. I mean, honestly, PMPM is just way faster. So you know, no, but what it does essentially is that in a normal Tauri app, right? What it does, it starts the development server, and then it spawns the Rust binary, right? It compiles your binary, it runs the binary, and the binary basically points to the development server. The binary is configured to point the web view to the development server. And in a production app, the binary is configured to point the web view to the sort of assets built into the app.
Mm-hmm.
And the way this works in Android and iOS, however, it's a tiny a bit different, where it's generating in your case, it's generating an Android project, right? And so what's happening is you start the development server. So the CLI starts the development server. Then it basically goes in and compiles the Rust library, right? So we compile the Rust part, and then it goes and compiles the Android app, where the Android app has a dependency on your the Android app has a dependency on the Rust binary you just compiled, right? And then the Android app gets run in the emulator, and there the Android app is sort of the one in charge, not the
Mm-hmm.
Rust code. So the Android sort of skeleton that we put into that gen folder, that one is basically taking care of loading the development server in that case. It's a tiny bit different, but roughly, yeah.
Okay. Um, yeah, I've got Discord open if you DM it to me. And no. Try not to like. Okay. We should be able to make this work. There we go.
Nice.
So
what does it say?
He's still typing. So that right there was the he was sending me. So YouTube, because security reasons and such, scrub a bunch of the chat. So like especially programming type stuff, it just scrubs it so you can't really type. So this first message was the fix for the CTA args to get the mobile option enabled. Okay, so we need to modify node modules in the CLI and change a couple lines. Got it.
It's very alpha. This is cool. That's fun.
Okay, PNMP is definitely a little bit different than what I am used to.
I think you just had it though.
Do you go in MP
no?
PNMP?
I think you can go into add Tauri apps. No, node modules, and then add Tauri apps.
Oh, right there. Okay.
Yeah.
CLI Tauri.js. And we are looking for some child process stuff. CLI, whoop, come on, find CLI .run. We are doing a CLI run arguments bin name catch. And what we're adding is, I mean, obviously this will be fixed at some point, but if y'all are following along, we are doing a process.exit, and that's basically Nappy holding on to it with the way we're working with it, I guess. This is the same. We're basically just making sure that process exits after it runs. Yes, terminate batch. Yes. Some of these like child process stuff too tend to really get stuck with to the point where there's occasionally I have to like completely just close the shell because it won't. It's like completely hung up the shell. The process like wrapping and child process in Windows is not the best experience.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a good experience on any operating system. Let's be honest, because like on macOS, it doesn't hang as much as it just like keeps old like processes around, right? Which I think it does that on Windows too sometimes, but especially once you're like working with, say in this case like a Vite server, right? And like just it like keeps the node instances around, and then next time you start up Vite, like the port is still blocked, right? Because the old server is still running. Spawns on a different port. Now all your sort of front end is off, and like you don't know why, and it's weird. And yeah,
I did a bunch of work. There's my employer started a project called Affection, which is, speaking of generators, that's the library that I was using. It is at least V2 is a generator-based structured concurrency, and we did a whole bunch of work, including a package to literally try to shut down Windows processes gracefully because, uh, yeah. But we did a bunch of work with making the way the structured concurrency works is it's kind of like the I believe it's like the actor model in Rust.
Right.
So you get like a process tree, and if one of the children fail, it'll trickle up and eventually get to the parent scope, and that'll kill everything else below it. And
Right.
part of the affection handling is like making sure all those processes get shut down. But even still, like on top of that, the Windows yeah. Oh, you said a yay? A yay is good. We actually wrote this little Control C Windows, which sends a Control C event as a separate application to that PID that's running to get it to actually shut down gracefully, which is
Wow, yeah.
pretty bonkers.
That's wild.
Because if it doesn't shut down gracefully and you just kill it, you don't get any of the like teardown hooks.
Right, yeah. It's like forced kill, right?
Basically, yeah, which can work, but I mean, depending on how you rate your long-running processes, you want to be able to like tear stuff down, and that's part of those like processes hanging around. That's part of the issue is that like if you tear down one process, if that process is a thing that started other processes, you kill that main one, all the other ones just get orphaned, and they're just zombie processes floating around.
Yeah, I mean, I just know that sort of Lucas on the Tauri CLI side has been dealing with like endless streams of issues in that regard. And like you just like you can only do like a best effort thing, right? Where it's like we just try our best to make it work and make it kill like clean after like itself, but it's never perfect. And yeah,
the complex thing too is that we're dealing with it both on the Rust side and on the Node side. Both of them are
right. Yeah.
So like even if you get one right, it doesn't necessarily mean that the other one's gonna be perfect. And some of them, like if you have an issue on Rust, it can trickle into the Node side and vice versa. And then you're also running everything with the expectation that the build scripts and the dev servers are also doing their own cleanup.
Yep.
So yeah.
Hey,
It looks
I mean,
like it's
like
working,
definitely
though.
like
It's executing.
yeah.
Its number is still going up, so
I think it like yeah, it's going strong right now. Looks a bit like, and I'm yeah, Amr is not here right now, but like it looks like it's using like a worker pool, right? Like a thread pool, almost.
it seems like it.
Which that would be kind of cool.
I haven't really done much with Kotlin, but it kind of seems like we're running a thing that's doing Kotlin stuff now. Ooh.
And
A little bit of a rainbow puke, but we got something. Hey.
nice. At long last. How long did that take us? 2 hours now, almost. Well, 1 hour 40. Nice. I mean, we're not like beating any speedrun, but
No.
we got an app.
Yeah, we got an app and we did it live.
Yeah.
A little bit of debugging. Thanks again for your help.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Amr has saved us multiple times now.
Yes.
Very cool.
Now, if we go, so all this should be live, right? So we should be able to go into Svelte and
Yep.
Oh, I don't have any. That's gonna bug me.
You just closed the prompt.
I did.
It was telling you that.
So used to just. Is it this one?
Yeah, I think so.
That
The
looks like
the
the
one
one.
with a star usually is the one you want.
Come on. I guess there was an install over there too. Okay. It's doing its thing.
Taking a
All
while.
right. So click on Tauri. So like if we would change, we got a bunch of images up here. Like we could reorder the Tauri logo to be first.
Yep.
Get a hot module reload from Vite. So Vite is the thing that's handling the build and the dev server for Svelte. And that's got hot module reloading, which means that if we make a change, it will reload in the dev server. Does it reload in the like emulation instance?
It did. Check it.
Oh yeah, no, it did. Yeah.
Tauri
Okay.
logos first.
Sweet.
That's the tricky part with Vite, you know. Usually it's so fast you don't even like. By the time you
Yeah.
look back at the browser, it's like, oh, already
Did I
happened.
make that change?
Yeah. It's not, yeah, see, it's not as fast with the emulator just because, like, of course, the just
Bunch of
it
extra
being
layers.
in an emulator.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just because it's in an emulator, but also like because we have to proxy the network, like we have to proxy the server to the emulator, right? Because it's like it's a different device, at least as it appears to your computer. So there are a couple layers in between that make that not as fast, but it's still very fast, which is cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
So then the so like this is a whole that was actually what I was going to show. This is a whole like
A whole Android. Yep.
Android, so like we could go, does it show up like on the homepage?
Yeah, it does. I think you need to sort of swipe up. Oh, how to reload is not proxied. Okay. Interesting.
It is so much
Should
harder
it
to
be
do
though?
this with the mouse. Emulator is just slow. Okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
maybe you need to. Oh, sorry.
I was. It felt like, I mean, even at some level, like we're running. It's what Rust running PNMP, which has a hot reload, which is doing a dev server, and the dev server needs to reload, and then the dev server updates, and then that triggers. Well, it basically needs to go over the wire to the emulator. So the like the hot reloading is this is basically just like a URL that it's pointing to, and the hot reload is like changing the code within the browser essentially.
Yep. Yeah, as Simon said, it's not like it's like usually with those emulators, it's not on the home screen, but it's in the app drawer because like it's still an app, right? But it just doesn't do a shortcut on the
that
app.
Makes sense.
Like
if I can get the
I think it's
wait,
you have to click the right on the right. There's like is it the circle or the square? Something.
Is that overview? No.
No, we just had that. Maybe it's a circle.
I've got gestures on my Android phone. Whoop. That's not what I want. I've got gestures so I can just swipe up from the bottom. From the middle of the screen, okay.
Fast as well.
Oh gosh, it's so weird using a mouse. Like when you do it, you do it with your hands. You just just do the thing, and when you're like, oh, like, how do I actually where do I actually put my finger?
Yeah. But you could see it. It's there.
Yep.
Which is cool. So this is like as far as you can go a real phone, right? And interestingly, maybe for anyone watching that wants to try this, what I kind of like found kind of neat is that to the right, like the separate sort of draw menu you have there outside of the phone, sort of. That's kind of cool. You can do like a whole bunch of things. Basically, those are all the sort of buttons you would have on the physical phone, right? But then if you click on the three buttons, you can do a whole bunch of like fancy stuff with like setting a location, setting like battery to be low and things like that. So Yeah, you can emulate a whole bunch of things, which right now, and that's this sort of also like a big important disclaimer, like Tauri doesn't support a lot of APIs yet, especially on Android. Like there's close to no API support yet, just because like we wanted to focus on getting it like working first, right? And now we're sort of getting into implementing API support for the various things that make it actually be useful on mobile, but it's just not there yet. So um, don't expect too much, but at some point you will be able to use that cool little settings window to change a whole bunch of things and have your Tauri app react to it, or you know, stuff like that. So
So does
I
it
mean,
do?
that's already kind of neat.
Do we have to turn on auto rotation or whatever?
I'm actually not sure if this is not like an app setting, maybe.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm wondering is if I can get through this weird mouse interaction. Auto
Oh
rotate.
no, but see, auto
On.
rotate
There we
off.
go. Yep.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
There we
Okay.
go. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
nice.
I would say
Very
if
cool.
anything works, I figured that would be the thing that would work because one of the nice things about the web, it is basically built with the expectation that it needs to be responsive at this point.
Yeah.
Um, so like this sort of interaction, which is, I think especially on Android because you have so many different types of Android, like sizes and aspect ratios and whatnot. At least with Apple, you've got a sort of a very defined subset of screen sizes and whatnot that you need to meet. But like on Android, it's you almost have to make like your Android app responsive.
Yeah.
And that's sort of one of the nice things of working with a web view is that you get all the web-based controls to help with that.
Yeah, like that's what I tell like every sort of web developer that asks about mobile is that like don't be afraid because you already know how to do a mobile web like page, right? That's like 101 web dev is that at this point you just have to have like your website be responsive because like this is trippy. Because
I was wondering what was going on. I think it was because it was upside down.
yeah.
Sorry, I got
But like
distracted here.
at this point you have to have your app be responsive because like most of the traffic to any website is coming from mobile, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
you like every web developer already knows how to do, or maybe not every, that's like a too broad statement, but like you should know how to build like a mobile compatible website.
Yep.
And once you know how to do that, and that's the whole neat part about Tauri, right? Once you know how to build an app, once you know how to build a website, you know how to build an app. And once you know how to build a mobile website, you know how to build a mobile app. So, yeah.
I think too and this might be something is worth exploring on later streams. You had mentioned that like iOS is a little bit further along in the more advanced functionality, um, but like the with something like React Native, you've got the web view, but then you can like certain controls or whatnot can fall back into native functionality. Um, and I think that that's something that I'm personally interested in because we've got Rust backing a lot of this, and I'm interested to see how that's going to come into play when we're starting to get into the advanced functionality. Because like theoretically, we
Yeah.
should be able to run stuff in Rust, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like Rust, like you can do what you would do in a normal Tauri app and do any Rust code, which there's like on mobile, it's even a bit cooler because, like, because of the way that we generate this folder with like the Android project in it, right? You could just go edit that as well, right? So if you theoretically
Interesting.
want to drop down to Kotlin and do some Kotlin stuff, you can do that as well. And we now sort of, I know Lucas did a whole bunch of work making that nicer. So now actually like you can have Android and iOS plugins, which are sort of similar to what we have with like Tauri plugins, where you can like hook sort of like a Rust crate into your Rust app. Mm. He was working on making this easier, where you can hook like a Swift, like what is it, Swift package, I think, right? You can hook a Swift package into your Rust app, and or you could hook like a Kotlin thing into your Rust app, which you could like you have even more options now, right? Because you can now not only build in Rust and JavaScript like you used to, but you can now build in Rust and JavaScript and Kotlin or Swift, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's to me also very exciting, and definitely like something we could play around with at a later point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think to kind of call Simon's mention out here, that we were sort of discussing this earlier with like what should be get ignored, what versus what shouldn't.
yeah,
And like we'll smooth that stuff out. Um, and as Simon is mentioning, like we're basically generating this stuff. So like we had to edit,
yeah,
we added whatever this was in here, source this. So like if we when we actually I did it accidentally, I regened it, and then we lost this. But if this is in version control, or parts of it are in version control, um, you'd see that in your in a git diff. So
yeah,
you'd be able to potentially do something where you can run the init again to like get the new stuff, and then you just have to do some review. The intention is certainly that you can edit the gen folder, but alpha equals alpha. Exactly. Yep. So our if y'all aren't aware, Simon's also part of the working group. We got a lot of folks here. The Are we thinking the expectation is that the whole gen folder is we're gonna have a gen Android and potentially a gen iOS, depending on what you want to support. We're expecting that whole folder pretty much to be included in your Git repo, except for a couple of the.
yeah, right. I think sort of the git ignore as is will probably roughly stay like it is right now. So
Got it.
you will have like, because that Android project folder will also include like built out of artifacts, right? And you don't want to keep those in Git and stuff. So not
Mm-hmm.
everything will end up in version control, but like the
Like
stuff you
the
care about, definitely.
Yeah, like that Gradle folder. Obviously, don't want to. Well, not obviously, but
Right. Yeah.
that's a build artifact thing um, that you don't want in there.
Yep. Right. In like caches and the like the
These
Jesus, what is
things
it?
here that
Android
we
Studio folder
edited.
and stuff.
Yep.
Interesting that that is sort of, yeah, I would expect that
I mean, those are the
will be.
things that we're doing to like start and kick off the thing. So I could see if that changes over time. That would be something that we'd want to
Oh yeah.
regen.
No, you're right. You're right.
But
That's
yeah,
true.
it's it, and like that is an interesting consideration too, because there's sort of like two states. There's a init where you literally have no folder and you need the whole shebang. But then there's also the case of like I just want to like get the latest build task.
Yep.
So like that's gonna be like the kind of stuff that ends up getting smoothed over as we move into the beta and eventually into the stable release. Cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanted to show off here? Otherwise, I think we're probably about at time.
Yeah. No, I think for like an initial look at Android, this is quite good, right? We have an app. It's running. It's
We met our
not
goal.
terribly interesting yet, but yeah,
I think what
very good.
is particularly interesting about this is with a couple of flags, you can now have desktop app that can be built for 3+ ish operating systems plus 2 mobile.
Yep.
And obviously that isn't going to be something that's reasonable for every use case. If you're doing something very hardware oriented, specific to a phone,
Yep.
Tauri may not be the best use case. But there's definitely going to be use cases where, and especially with Rust available, Rust and Kotlin and Swift available to you, it's not necessarily going to be it's a web view, so it's slow. We have tools
Right.
at our disposal to like work through that.
Yeah.
So,
And even like like on modern phones, like modern phones are crazy fast nowadays. So um, it's
cool.
like it's surprising what you can do on a phone nowadays, which is cool. Very exciting.
Yeah, it's. I understand the sentiment to write off web views in the distant past, and even it's more of the recent past. But I think that story has definitely been evolving, and it's something that we should continue to reevaluate.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably something that we can play around with on stream.
Yeah,
Some more of that advanced functionality and see where that goes. But
definitely. Definitely.
do
Very excited.
let's do what's your YouTube? I'll drop a link in the chat here. See if anybody wants to give you a
I
follow.
think it's my name, honestly. Jonas Comback. It's a long handle.
Simple though. Did I spell
No,
that right?
man, I set that channel up like last week. I have no idea.
I did spell your name right though. Yeah. Yep. Okay. I was cheating and checking down in the.
Let me. Now I'm gonna post with my private account. Nice. There you go. You were
Sweet.
missing an ad.
Ah, yep.
Yeah.
I forgot they changed that. You should be able to still
Anyway.
do this though, right? No? Does C not work anymore?
I don't know. Apparently not. For you it is. That's weird.
Well,
Well,
who knows? I mean, they both work. So maybe it's something weird with account creation versus not. Because mine has been around for a little bit. But anyways, yeah. Give them a follow.
Actually,
you did your first stream, what, like last week?
Last week. Yeah, and actually tomorrow, and this is gonna be more of a recording than a real stream, but tomorrow I'm gonna be working on adding logging to Tauri. So you, for the longest time, have not been able to really know what is going on under the hood, especially with like updating, right? And when like stuff is not going the way you expect, there wasn't really any output from Tari as a crate for so that you know what is going on. And like I've meaning to change that for ages, and tomorrow's gonna be the day I do it finally. So
nice.
That's gonna be a live stream. I think I set it to 10 a.m. Central European time, so like in the middle of the night for Americans or something. But it's gonna be recorded. That's why I said it's mostly a recording. I'm gonna have that be edited as well, so it's nicer for people to look at after the fact. But it's also gonna be live, so if you want to hang around, do a bit of co-working tomorrow, feel free. And yeah.
Well, I think both of us are probably intending to do, well, for sure more streams separately on Tauri. I've been doing them for a while, but give Jonas a follow. But I think we probably can plan some more combined stuff.
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
And especially as the
and we got
stuff.
Right, yeah, we got to do iOS next.
Yep. So stay tuned. Hit the subscribe button. Ding that bell so you get the notifications, and you can watch Jonas' stream tomorrow.
Yes. Cool. Very nice.
Nothing else? Say goodbye to everybody.
See ya.
See you on the next one, everybody. Bye.